We look back for experience, but we look forward for inspiration. We must be instructed and inspired. No better inspiration than to set your goals. I started this process when I was 25. Literally rocked my world, changed my life. I had no idea it was so simple. Here's how simple it is. Decide what you want, write it all down. Make a list of the people you want to meet. Make a list of the books you want to read. Make a list of the classes you want to take. Make a list of the skills you want to learn. Make a list of the cities you want to visit. Make a list of the investments you want to have. Just make these lists. Here's the next key now. Start checking them off. Put a lot of little things on some list so you can start checking off something right away. That's part of the fun. Here's what's next. If you check off something major, celebrate, because that inspires you to make a longer list of goals. And put everything on your list, little things, insignificant to someone else, important to you. I put a little revenge on my first list. My mentor said it was healthy. Some of the people who said I couldn't succeed, kid from the farms of Idaho, they went on my list. Couldn't wait to get my new car, drive it up on their lawn. Say, oh, pardon me, here's the money to have it fixed. Just little satisfaction. My Japanese friend, Toro Ikeda, San Jose, California, put on his first list, a Caucasian gardener. Way back then, everybody had a Japanese gardener. Everybody, Japanese gardener. I said, I'm Japanese. I'm going to have a Caucasian gardener. Okay, little satisfactions, right? Set your goals. Decide what you want. Write it down. Start checking them off. It's powerful stuff. The next one is measure progress. Because if you're going to play the great drama game of life, the key is to keep measuring progress to see how you're doing. How's your health doing? How's your income doing? How are your investments doing? If you're building a house, how is it coming along? What's going on? Measuring progress. That's what we call the name of the game. Here's how we teach it to our children. You must make measurable progress in reasonable time. That's about as simple as you can put it to the kids. You're required to make measurable progress in reasonable time. Now, we must be reasonable with time. You can't say to someone every 5 minutes, how are you doing now? 5 minutes later, how are you doing now? This guy says, I haven't left the building yet. Give me a break. So 5 minutes to ask for a count or a measure is too soon. 5 years is too long, too late. Too many things can go wrong. So reasonable time. Here's reasonable time. 1, at the end of the day. Don't let more than a day go by with what you check and measure some things. Count, measure, take a look at. My mama taught good health. I've been healthy all my life. My papa lived to be 93, never did retire. When he died, his paycheck was waiting for him. Mama was good. Mama said, an apple a day, not once in a while, apple a day. Mama said, apple a day. So at the end of the day, check off. The old prophet said, if you're angry, try to solve it before the sun goes down. Don't carry it over for another day. Tomorrow it might be too heavy to carry. A conversation a father should have with his daughter today, because the magic is there. If he waits till tomorrow, the magic could be gone. Today, a reasonable time to count. How are you doing? You have how many properties now? Right? It's been 6 months. You have how many now? It's been 1 year. Now you have how many? It's been 2 years and now you have how many? How many? It's the key. Count. It's the deal. Success is a numbers game. How many years do you want your child to spend in 4th grade? Approximately. About what? One grade, 1 year. Progress. 1 grade, 1 year. And you've got to set up your own measuring system. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. You set it up. Because society doesn't require you not have a heart attack. That you must require of yourself. Society doesn't demand that you build a financial wall around your family nothing can get through. That you must demand of yourself. So the government's not there to measure. Society's not there to measure. You must be responsible enough to measure yourself. How are you coming on this financial wall around your family? Nothing can get through. How are you doing? And whether it's a few pounds to lose, or whether it's a financial wall, or whether it's a growing office, whatever it is, find some ways to measure so you don't become disillusioned, thinking, oh, it looks okay, when it really isn't okay.
Most people operate in the area of survival. How many of you know people who should be here? Raise your hands, please. See, they're fine just like they are. Now, but there's some people who that just surviving is not enough. I believe that there are three types of people in life. They're winners, they're losers, and they're winners who've not discovered how to win yet. And these individuals, it's something about them that drives them, that they will invest in themselves. They go to seminars and workshops and lectures, and they're seeking, there's something in them that says, I can do better than this. That there are people who would be glad to be where they are and would be happy, but they're not. How many of you know if you had your life to live over again, you can do more than what you've done thus far? Raise your hands. I was reading a story about George Bernard Shaw, who was a very brilliant man in his day. And I love to quote him. But one of the things that was asked George Bernard Shaw that really resonated with me at the end of his life, somebody asked him, if you had to be anybody in the world, anybody throughout history, if you had the power to be born again, who would you like to come back as? And without blinking, he said, I'd like to be born as the man I never was. I like to be the man I never was, that I never became. Seeking to connect with that person. There's another person here that you're looking at. There's somebody else back there. And every chair in this place, there are two people in this place in every chair. You're in the chair with somebody else. There's another person back there. You know they're back there. And that person is the person that you want to become connected with. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you've had some experiences where you said, I can't believe I'm doing this. How many of you have ever done that, please? That you surprise yourself. Well, every time I speak, I see this as such a sacred opportunity. And I'm so happy. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming, because when I look back on my life, and this Les Brown that you see was in bondage for so many years, didn't come out till late in my life. I had him under arrest. I was in bondage with fear. I wanted to do what I'm doing. And I thought about things I wanted to accomplish, and I held myself back because I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to make mistakes. I was afraid that I would embarrass myself. I was intimidated by people who had college degrees because I didn't have a college degree. I still don't have a college degree. And so I would think about the things I wanted to do, and then I would start thinking about the fact, Les, you can't do that. So that's what I told this guy in me. Les, you can't do that. You don't have a college education. Les, I hear what you're saying, but come on, be logical. Be practical. You can't do that. I know you feel good going to see Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins and the late Dr. Norman Vincent Peale and Robert Schuller. I know they motivate you and inspire you, but get real. You can't do that. You never worked for any major corporation. Come on. Let's be practical. Be logical. Oh, yes. I know people told you you have a gift to gab and you have a nice personality and you're funny and you make people feel good and you make them laugh. But you become a speaker, speak for corporations, train and teach people and motivate people to do something you've never done? You're not rich. You're not successful. You don't have any books. You don't have the resources. You don't know the people. You don't have the contacts. You can't do that, Les Brown.
You got to have those goals. A lot of people don't have goals because of fear. I want to skip one and talk about this one just for a moment. I'll be leaving on an airplane tomorrow for Toledo, Ohio. Now, I got sense enough to know that some of those airplanes are coming down faster than they're going up. It's dangerous for that plane to fly. You see in the newspapers where the ships leave the harbor and you see where some of them sink. It's dangerous for the ship to be on the ocean. You read where people lease their homes and the lessee, the people who rented the house, they tear it up. It's dangerous to let somebody move into your house. And yet the engineers tell me that it's more dangerous for that plane to stay on the ground. That it will rust out faster than it will wear out up into the heavens. They tell me that that ship will collect more barnacles in the harbor and become unseaworthy faster than it will sailing the high seas. And they tell me that if that house stays empty, that it will deteriorate faster than if you do not have someone living in that house. Besides, planes are built for flying. Ships are built for sailing. Houses are built for living. And man, too, was built for purpose. He was designed for accomplishment. He's engineered for success. He's endowed with the seeds of greatness. And the greatest danger we as human beings have is when we do not do anything at all. What about you personally? Have you got your goals laid out? Are you a meaningful specific, or are you a wandering generality? Are goals necessary? I'm going to say emphatically yes. Can you imagine the chairman of the board, General Motors, and somebody comes to him and says, "How did you get to be chairman of the board, General Motors?" Do you really believe he said, "Well, I just showed up for work and they started promoting me, and first thing, here I am, chairman of the board, General Motors"? No, I think you know that is not the way that it happened. What about you? Are you a wandering generality, or are you a meaningful specific? People today complain of lack of time. It's not lack of time that's the problem, it's the lack of direction. Are you a wandering generality, or are you a meaningful specific? Howard Hill was probably the greatest archer who ever lived. He killed a Cape buffalo with a bow and arrow. He killed a Bengal tiger with a bow and arrow. He won 281 consecutive tournaments. He was never beaten in competition. As a youngster, I have seen Howard Hill in newsreels from 50 feet draw dead aim and split the center of that bullseye perfectly in the center. And yet he could take the next arrow and literally split the first one. An amazing demonstration of skill. And yet I'm going to look at you dead center and say to you, I could spend 20 minutes with you. And at the end of that 20 minutes, Dick, I could have any man in this audience or any woman in this audience hitting the bullseye more consistently than Howard Hill could have on the best day he ever had, provided we blindfolded Howard Hill and turned him around so he would not know which direction he was facing. And you rather obviously laugh and say, "Ziegler, that's silly." Of course. How could a man hit a target he could not see? That's a pretty good question. Here's another one. How can you hit a target you do not have? Have you got one? Are you a wandering generality, or are you a meaningful specific? Are you going to work tomorrow because that's what you did yesterday? If that's the reason you're going tomorrow, you won't be as good tomorrow as you were yesterday because you're 2 days older and no closer to the goal you do not have.
Do you know that people make their mind up about you and I based upon our opinion of ourselves? They have no time to check us out. They just listen to what we say. And of all the things we say, you and I need to say things in the direction of a very specific target. Of all the things I know, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. You won't recognize it when you get there because you really didn't plan to be there in the first place. The people who are the most specific in life seem to get a goal because the mind is the most marvelous biocomputer ever created. I had the good fortune to have as a professor Dr. Viktor Frankl, who led the resistance movement at Auschwitz and Dachau during the years of World War II. And Dr. Frankl realized that the people who lived the longest, who made it through those horrible years, were the ones who had magnificent obsessions, who were stuck on a marvelous target. I studied the Korean War. It was the only war in which no American prisoner ever escaped from a minimum security camp. You see, they have a way of checking you out by asking you questions about your life. Hi, soldier, where are you from? Who's your favorite ball team? What are you going to do when you get back? How much money do you need? If you said enough money, someday I don't really know. I don't have a ball team. I just want to be happy. I just want peace. The mind says piece of pie, piece of bread, piece of what? What will make you happy? What will make you successful? How much is enough? You need to take the generalities and give them specificity. They took the people with no goals and called them purposeless. They put them in minimum security camp country clubs, and they tried to reorient them in the library. The death rate went up. The disease rate was up in the minimum security camp with more food and comfort. In the maximum security camp, they put people like you and I, people who had deep beliefs, people who wanted to get home, people who were going for freedom, who knew how much money we need, what kind of goals we believe in. And they classified them as dangerous because they were leaders. People always follow someone who knows where they're going. And so it was that the maximum security camp was full of purposeful people who were beaten and starved. The death rate went down. The disease rate was down. And many of them escaped. They knew where they were going. And they got there. But those who were there for the duration just stayed. And many young people pulled the covers up over their head and gave up because they didn't have a target. We've always managed to get what our currently dominant thoughts are. And we've always moved into that. You see, you can't come away from an idea. You can only go toward the dominant thought. Through the years, I've learned how to set goals that are just out of reach, but not out of sight. I've learned how to stair-step them like the Olympic athletes. You see, they never try to win the gold. They only try to do a better split. A little faster this, a little more of this. They try just to be out of reach, but not out of sight. And they even take pocket computers and figure out what they need to do the next split in to get it. And when they get a goal, because it's close in, they get positive reinforcement for having hit it. When they miss a goal that's close in, they can get easy correction to the target. I used to set my goals. I want to be president of the world. I want to be like any actor or somebody. Just today, you can't do that. You take it a little bit at a time, just out of reach. And of all things to tell yourself, never tell yourself what you don't want to happen, what you don't want to be, what you don't want to recur again. Never tell yourself how much weight you don't want to be. Never tell your children, clean up your room, you pigs. I used to. Clean up your room, you pig. And they cleaned it up and got it messy the next day. They know who they were. Oh, you can't come away from a condition. It's like saying don't giggle in church. Why would you ever tell somebody not to giggle in church? Just because an apple fell off somebody's hat and rolled down the aisle, that's no reason to do that. Many of you who know about the World Series and sports know that sports is a microcosm of the world. And in sports, you see it all the time. A coach unwittingly telling a team what not to do in the second half. Why would anyone motivate anyone on the reverse of an idea? Why would you ever tell yourself anything except where you wanted to go and be? I weigh this much. I'm fit and trim. I can feel my body grow stronger now. I'm achieving my financial goals, not what I don't want to be, but what I want to be, the dominant thought of the winner. You know, sometimes that inner voice just isn't very cooperative. So you need to work hard every day to fine-tune it, to feed it fresh information for building a new and better self-image. To be a winner in life, you must have a well-developed game plan. Your objectives can range from lifetime goals to daily priorities. Review what you want to accomplish in the next 12 months for your career, your family, finances, your education, public service, and mental and physical health. Set one major goal for each of these areas and review them often. And when you're not actively pursuing your goals, visualize your achievement. For 10 minutes every day, picture yourself already enjoying one of your goals. Imagine how it looks and feels, and savor those good feelings. Next, learn new skills. Find a coach or mentor who can teach you the skills you need to reach your objectives. And finally, get constructive feedback. Share your goals with others and monitor your progress with feedback from a positive support group, not necessarily from family or friends, but from those genuinely interested in your success.